Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of BraveHawk Talk, the UNC Pembroke Athletics podcast. I'm your host, Bull Slavin, Assistant Athletic Director for Marketing Partnerships, and we're so glad that you're joining us for today's exciting episode as we feature two prominent alumni, one from UNCP football, Alpha Lamin, currently pursuing a career in NASCAR, and Dr. Barry O'Brien, the current Dean of the Accredited School of Business here at UNC Pembroke, and a former standout basketball player back when we were Pembroke State College. Again, we hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thanks so much for joining us. Turn the volume up, sit back, and enjoy. I'm here with UNCP football alum, Alpha Lamin. Alpha, you have some exciting stuff going on in your life right now, but in the midst of everything, COVID's still front and center for everybody. How are you doing, and how has COVID impacted you?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. Great to be back at Pembroke. COVID impacted me a little bit this year so far. NASCAR season being out about 2 months, but we're back and rolling, so I can't really complain too much.
And we are definitely going to talk about the NASCAR segment a little bit later. Such a unique experience that you're getting to experience, for lack of better words, right? But you have a cool story going on right now. But first, we want to let our fans get to know you a little bit. Although you were pretty popular here at UNC Pembroke, we'll take them back to what was your playing career, and you were, a all-state nod at your high school, coming from Trinity Christian in Fayetteville, and you got to go through the recruiting process, but you did not start at UNC Pembroke. You started at Elizabeth City State. What was your recruiting process like, and how did you wind up choosing East City, and then how did you eventually wind up coming to UNC Pembroke?
Well, starting off, Trinity Christian is a really small school, so around that time they really weren't getting a lot of exposure. But I did have a couple schools that were interested in me, and I wanted to go to a school that really wanted me to go there. So Elizabeth City offered me a full scholarship, and I ended up going there. I liked it. Everything was cool, and so I started off my career there. I redshirted my first year, and I played my next year out. I had a really good season. My freshman year, I had a really good season. First game I played, I got 3 sacks in that game. Freshman of the week, NCAA Freshman of the Week. But the following spring, I had broke my ankle. I broke my ankle real bad, and I was already planning to try to transfer. I was going to try to transfer up to try to play at a D1 school, but I did break my ankle. But I definitely wanted to play at a school with a little bit more competition or higher level competition. But since I broke my ankle, I was thinking to myself it probably wouldn't be a good choice to go to a D1 school. So, but I definitely wanted to go somewhere with a little more competition. So I know around that time Pembroke was winning, and so I checked out Pembroke and kind of liked the program. I just liked it. It was close to home, winning program. So I thought to myself, I'll just piggyback into that program. So I walked on, met Coach Richardson, and it was hard. I'm not coming off the injury with a broken ankle, and walking on. It was definitely hard. Then I had to start from the very, very bottom. It was a lot of adversity, probably the most adversity in my whole entire life, and it's a great story. If any of my friends, they'll tell you it's a great story. The things I went through at Pembroke when I first came in, I was so out of shape. I came in almost immediately after my last surgery, and I was so out of shape. It's a great story. If you ask me, the coaches, they'll tell you it's really a great story.
And that story continues as you came in and got to be a part of one of the best defensive teams and lineups that UNC Pembroke football has had in 2016. Made an immediate impact, got to play in all 12 games that year as the NCAA run happened. What was that first year like for you? That story kind of continued on, and ultimately, the defense is what really led our football program to its first NCAA playoff victory with the upset of Valdosta State. What do you remember about that playoff victory, going to the NCAA championships, and kind of that experience? It was really a full 180 from breaking your ankle and really being out of shape and having to get back in the routine to becoming an impact player and really helping bolster that defensive front.
Yeah, definitely. Honestly, that time I can vividly remember that time. I vividly remember. I will never ever forget that time because it's essentially like the best time of my. That was the best time of my life right there. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like that season was so amazing, and just the experience and being on campus and being a part of that team and like we get in arguments about it on the internet, on Facebook about it all the time. Like what was the best team? Who was the best team? And in Pembroke history, we like to talk about it. I like to say it was that team. But yeah, it was a great experience. Defense, the D line. That's the best D line I've ever. We were too deep at every position. We were being led by Coach Love. Coach Love coached up very well. We had a very good D line. We had a lot of sacks. With Brooks, Tyler Hinton, two-time All-American, Khalil Vance. It was a lot of guys. Q, Marquin. Yeah, it was a lot of guys. We were really deep on the D-line, really deep. Too deep at every position. A lot of people really couldn't handle that, especially Valdosta State. We put a lot of hits on the quarterback. A lot of hits. And we were the underdogs in that game. Put a lot of hits on the quarterback that game.
And you said it was the best time of your life. And, I graduated 2016 from my undergrad here. So, I'm kind of biased towards that team as well, although I guess I'm supposed to stay neutral because of all the chats that go back and forth. So we'll just keep it between you and me and all of our listeners, I guess. But what kind of made it so special? Why was being at UNC Pembroke that year the best time in your life?
It was just we were winning and we were cocky with it. Like it was just like we wanted to, when we went into the game, it was we were so confident. It was no doubt we were going to win that game. It was no doubt. And then not only that, it was like death row. We talked about. I think we did a couple articles about it as well. Death row. Like it's just like that group of guys, that D line, it's so special to this day. Right now, as we speak, we have a group chat. We have a group chat with Death Row, with the whole D line, and we still talking it to this day. We still talking it. It was just a great experience. Like that group of guys. I would never forget that. Like, it was great. It was amazing.
And a special group of guys indeed, as all of you have gone on to, your own personal successes off the field with Khalil down in Texas and T.Y. now helping out the exact position that he played on that line here at UNC Pembroke, making his impact known, kind of following in Coach Devontae Bush's footsteps, taking over his sack record, and then now coaching as well. But outside of your playing career, student athletes are way more than just athletes, right? You have both the experience on the field and off the field. What was your best memory just here at the university outside of specifically just football?
I don't want to sound bad when I say it, but like kind of like being like, I would say the jock of the school, like being a jock, like going everywhere and everybody knowing you and. The campus life. The campus life was amazing because it's not like an HBCU. It's not like it's very diverse. It's very diverse. I've never been anywhere, and I don't think Pembroke gets enough props for that. Like it's so diverse in Pembroke. So diverse. It's everything. So you get to experience a large race of people. It's not just one race of people, and it's a great experience. Just. Everything was like the campus life was amazing at Pembroke. Nobody knows that. The campus life at Pembroke is amazing.
And something that we've worked very hard on is building up that campus life. I obviously got to work with you on Military Appreciation Night when you helped out with one of our TAPS families. And I think it was the first year that we did it, you were a part of, so that was very special. For me, it was really my first big event that I got to run here at UNC Pembroke. So thanks again for all of your help with that. Some unique experiences because you were a captain on the football team that you got to be a part of that. But then moving on, we talked about how everybody's moving on and becoming successful outside of football. You completed your degree. You got your degree in 2018 with exercise physiology. And what were your plans coming out of college? Did you ever think that you would be, in NASCAR now?
Honestly, after I graduated, I didn't have the senior season I really wanted. I really wanted to keep on playing football. I know I was talented enough, but I didn't have the season I wanted my senior season. So it kind of left me in a bind. So I went to the Dream Bowl. I played in the Dream Bowl. I did pretty good in the Dream Bowl. But coming out of D2, you have to, unless you just have this amazing size and physicality like Neek. Like Neek is a specimen. You got to put numbers up. I put numbers up my junior season, but my senior season just, it was a letdown, I would say. 2-8 season, or I think we won 3 games that season. But yeah, so definitely I tried, but nothing came out. I ended up teaching at Trinity Christian. And I liked it there. I probably would have stayed there, honestly, because it was a great experience. I really like working with kids. It really was a great experience. I got the impact of the kids, and they loved me. Like my 3rd grade class, they loved me a lot.
And so you got to go back home essentially and teach at your high school. And you talk about Neek, Dominique Davis, who just got picked up as an undrafted free agent for the New York Jets. Talk about him being a specimen. And it's not like you're not a specimen. We want everybody to know that. You were playing 6'3", 240. You were a beast on the field. So it's just incredible to hear for all of our listeners, especially somebody like you talking about one of your teammates, how they're a specimen. When everybody looks at you walking across campus, you're like, you know that Alpha was on the football team just because of your pure size and kind of presence walking around. So it's kind of cool to hear you talk about Neek like that. But so you continued on from there, and then now you're now in the NASCAR Drive for Diversity program, which you call the D4D program, but you didn't start there. From what you were telling me, you've now been a part of NASCAR for about a year and 3 months, maybe just under it. But take us through that. How did you get involved with NASCAR, and then now eventually into the Drive for Diversity program for NASCAR? You've kind of piggybacked off of it based on what you were talking about. But take us through that process. Such a cool and unique story that you got to basically, because you were a prominent college athlete at a competitive school, you got this opportunity. Kind of take us through that, and I'm excited to hear the story.
So it started off, like I said, I was teaching at Trinity Christian, and I got a phone call from Coach Cox, the offense coordinator at Pembroke. And like I said, a special shout out all the coaches, Coach Richardson, and those guys and everything. Special shout out to all those guys. There was a lot of help. Everything they taught me, it definitely helped me out in the real world. But I got a phone call from Coach Cox, and he told me, he said a NASCAR team was looking for guys. And he said he felt I would fit, the description. Big, strong, and good feet, fast. He gave me the information. He gave me the information, and I called Chris Hall. Chris Hall was the carrier on the 95 car, and a Devo coach, the Devo recruiter. So Chris told me, he said, he watched my film, and he said, yeah, come down here and come down here for an evaluation. And once I came to Joe Gibbs for an evaluation, I was so shocked. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. The facilities were so nice. The facilities were amazing. It was essentially the athletic experience I was looking for. As I tried, like I said, I would have loved to go to the NFL or played on beyond that or at a high level. But as soon as I walked into the facilities at Joe Gibbs, and I seen the weight room and the training room. I said, this is exactly what I've been looking for. This is exactly what I've been looking for. So I immediately got kind of pumped up, like for my evaluation. So I started my evaluation at Joe Gibbs, and it put me through. There was a little style, a bunch of drills, footwork drills, a little weightlifting, a lot of flexibility, because you have to be very flexible doing this job, and limber. So I went through my evaluation, and immediately after my evaluation, Chris Hall and John Royer, the developmental coach, told me I'll be getting the phone call back in a little bit. So immediately I got home the next day. I got a phone call from Chris Hall, and he told me basically they want to move me out to the Charlotte, Huntersville area, and start my development and get me into the sport immediately. So that's what happened. I ended up coming down here to Charlotte. I stayed in Charlotte. I started working and developing at Joe Gibbs Racing. Essentially, like I was telling you, Joe Gibbs Racing is like the Patriots of football and NASCAR. It's a very dominant, very, very dominant NASCAR team, and like the holy grail of pit crews. Once I came in, they told me I was already told by the other pit crew members, just once you come in here, you'll be good, you'll be set. After every team knows you came through Joe Gibbs, every team will want you. So I ended up going through Joe Gibbs for 6 months and training with them, and I did very well. I took off. I took off for the early on in my 6 months. Like within my first 3 months, they sent me to my first Xfinity race, which is pretty good. A lot of people don't go to Xfinity races their first race and that early, but I definitely did. And Chris Hall definitely told me that. He said that you're doing really well starting off. I did very good, but overall they felt after my 6 months it would be better for me to go to a smaller team for a little bit and get some more experience, because it's all about the experience. Because NASCAR is like, it's not like any other sport you ever played. It's not like football. It's not like basketball. Wasn't raised pitting cars, and I wasn't. You know what I'm saying? I was more raised playing football. So it's like you have to know what's going on at the exact moment. You have to understand what's going on. You got to know what to do. It's so much deeper than really slamming tires on and jacking the car up. So you might have to make repairs. You got to wait for certain things. You have to be every pit crew member has to be well put together, as in physicality, flexibility, and being smart and cool under pressure, because it's a pressure sport as you're trying to essentially pit the car in 13 seconds. The goal is 13 seconds, putting 4 tires on the car in 13 seconds. So they thought I should go to a lower team. They already had teams lined up for me that were interested in me already, RCR and Ganassi. So and then Roush called me as well. They heard about me through the grapevine. They called me as well. So I was going to those teams that I was practicing with those teams, trying to figure out which team I was going to be participating with for the following season. So overall, I like all the teams. I like all the teams a lot. But I then found Coach Phil Orton, the very first pit crew coach in NASCAR, and so I reached out to him. You know, we talked. Somebody gave me his phone number. We talked, and he basically said the exact same thing that Joe Gibbs Racing, Chris Hall, and my other Devo coaches were telling me. Basically, it would be best for me to get a lot of track experience now, and that would push my development faster. Which he thought his program, he was going to send me to the track a lot which he did, which he is. He's sending me to the track. I'm getting about 2 to 3 races a week. I'm making pretty good money. Just starting off in a NASCAR pit crew. Not only that, I picked up 2 positions as I started carrying at Joe Gibbs, and now I'm jacking, which gives me a lot of value because I can do 2 things instead of 1. So I can sign to a team and essentially be a carrier and a jack man. So definitely that's my little stout. So far I'm in a D4D program. Just looking to. I might go back. I think I'll be back at Joe Gibbs Racing pretty soon. But if I'm not, I know I have other teams interested, like Roush, Chip Ganassi, and RCR. But like I said, I'm really interested in going back to Joe Gibbs. I really want to go back to Joe Gibbs. But I wouldn't mind going to any other team.
Yeah, and I mean, if Joe Gibbs is the holy grail of pit crews, why wouldn't you? And it's incredible to hear, you talk about it with kind of that athlete mentality, but how it's also extremely different because, like you said, you're not raised training for putting tires on or carrying or pulling the jack out there to jack up the car to get it going under 13 seconds. I mean, that's moving, Alpha, so that's pretty incredible for that. But what do you from there, I mean, what are some of the places we've seen some on Instagram with you had like a couple neat and also scary experiences. We saw you were there when the crash happened in pit row and that type of thing. What are some of your coolest experience so far, and do you have a favorite track that you've gotten to go to? You said you got to go to the Xfinity Series. Was that your favorite experience so far, or do you have one that kind of tops that?
Yeah, I like the Xfinity races. Definitely, truck races are a little more competitive, as it's more of like everybody's pretty much on the same level. Xfinity, I like the Xfinity races though. I like pitting those cars a little more. But my favorite track is definitely Bristol, because at Bristol is like anybody. I'm not gonna say anybody can win, but anybody can win. Like, and I feel like, and that stadium is amazing. It's a short track, so the cars are going around really, really fast. So you see a whole bunch of action, a lot of action, crashes. So and like I'm trying to say, anybody can win at that track. So you could be a back end car, or your car might not be the best car, but you really have to drive at that track. Everybody has to drive that track. That's a real interesting. And the Indy track was really exciting too. That's a real exciting track. That's a big track. You got to do reverse pit stops. That's pretty cool. You get to see the Indy cars. I got to see the Indy cars. That's my first time ever seeing the Indy cars go at it like that. So those definitely my best experiences so far.
And have you always been a NASCAR fan, or have you had to kind of learn about the sport through Joe Gibbs Racing and the D4D program, or was this always kind of something you've always been interested in, and you were kind of excited for the opportunity, or was this really just a new adventure for you altogether?
Yeah, it was a new adventure for me, and that was one of the main things that Chris Hall at Joe Gibbs, wanted to pound in me. Like he wanted to pound at him. He was like, you have to be a student of basically everything that's going on, like making adjustments. You got to know what are the adjustments. Even though I'm not driving the car, it's good to know, like, when I make this adjustment, or I'm loosening this up, or I'm tightening this up. So you got to be a student of the game, and you want to be a student of the game, as in, like, you want to know when the car, like, you don't want to just be sitting around in the by your pit box. You want to know exactly what's going on, even though we all have radios and we hear exactly what's going on. You want to understand the language, as in, I know when a caution, when there's a wreck or something and the caution's out, I need to have my helmet on, I need to be by my jack or be by my tires, I need to be getting ready to get the play. My crew chief is going to give me the play. Or the beginning, at the end of the stage, I need to be getting ready for a pit stop, because it's probably going to come down pit road. Or if something's going on, you need to be ready. So you need to kind of study. You need to kind of understand it. That's why what I'm saying by, as in, you have to get the reps. You got to get the track experience. The track experience is the main thing, because you know these teams are not going to pay you all that money to go out there and just essentially just run around the car really fast. You have to know exactly what you're doing.
Right. Yeah. No doubt. And the experience is key. And you mentioned that you're getting multiple races a week right now, which is only building up that experience. And personal question, because I had to change a tire a few weeks ago. Do you feel like you can change your own tire a lot quicker now?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Now, I mean, I could change the tire back then, but now it's a whole lot faster now. It'd be nothing to change the tire, honestly.
I was always curious. They did a commercial a while back with the pit crew about how fast they were changing their own personal tires at home, and I was curious if it was just a joke or if it was the real deal. So I'm hearing that it was the real deal with how quick they're moving, how quick you can do it on your own now as well. But we always end every interview, Alpha, with a fun and thought-provoking question. You can take as much time as you need to answer it, but I'm going to go ahead and give you this question. Being, a D-line, and I thought this one would be fun for you. If you could eat as much of one food as you wanted without ever getting full, which food would you choose?
It would definitely be a fat, juicy, medium rare steak with a lot of A1 steak sauce.
Doesn't matter from where, or you don't care as long as it's just or a type of cut, or just a meaty steak and you're good to go.
Yeah, just a meat, like a thick one, a thick meaty one. Yeah, real thick.
I hear you. Well, that's you definitely need the stomach for that if you're eating that, because that'll fill you up in a heartbeat. So, Alpha, I really appreciate it. It's such a cool story. We can't wait to see what team you wind up with once you get through this D4D program. If you do wind up back at Joe Gibbs, definitely let us know what team you're with so that we can let all Brave Nation know. And I think that team will gain a lot more fans from UNC Pembroke just purely because of you. So definitely let us know, and we'll be more than happy to share it and let all of our fans know as well. But Alpha Lamin, thanks so much for joining us today on BraveHawk Talk, the UNC Pembroke Athletics podcast. Good luck, and thanks again.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I just want to give a special shout out to to all the coaches at UNCP. I'm so thankful for everything I've been through there, and everything they taught me is like I said, is definitely translating into the real world. Being an athlete. So I just want to give a special shout out to everybody, especially Coach Richardson for the opportunity of letting me come on the team, Coach Cox for making everything happen, all the coaches, Coach Ford, Coach Love. Just want to give a special shout out and thank you for everything they ever did for me.
Once again, a special thanks to Alpha Lamin for joining us today on BraveHawk Talk. If you want to keep up with Alpha, he's currently working on the number 13 car for the Motorsports Business Management LLC group in the Xfinity Series, and the number 83 and number 49 car for Ray Cicerelli's motorsports team as a part of the NASCAR Gander RV and Outdoors Truck Series. So make sure to keep an eye out for him on TV with all NASCAR races. As we anxiously await the return of sports, don't forget to continue wearing your mask. You can purchase yours today on UNCPBraves.com or on our social media. Get your Pembroke branded mask as we prepare for the return of game day. Upcoming next, we have Dr. Barry O'Brien from the School of Business here at UNC Pembroke, a former standout basketball player back in the 70s, and we're so glad that he's joining us today on BraveHawk Talk. I'm here with Dr. Barry O'Brien, the Dean of the UNC Pembroke School of Business and a former UNCP basketball standout back in the 70s. We're so glad that he's back with us here at UNC Pembroke, and we're so glad that he's with us here today. Dr. Barry, thanks so much for joining us today on BraveHawk Talk. You seem like you're enjoying the life right now, even though the pandemic's been hard for you and for everybody, but give us a quick rundown of how you're doing and how you're surviving the COVID-19 pandemic.
Well, it's like everyone else. During the first 6 weeks of telecommuting, I think I gained 20 pounds. I'd sit there and work and do WebEx, and the whole time I was doing it, I was eating. So I've had to go on a crash diet to get some of the tonnage off. But it's really been crazy, very upsetting to everybody, and I think you learn along the way that you just adjust and do the best you can, and we're absolutely ready in the School of Business to bring our students back on August 5th.
And you've seen some of the hardships that the town of Pembroke has faced. I mean, you've the area coming from Pennsylvania coming down here to play collegiate basketball and had some fun stories and some great memories. But I think one of the best stories that you told was kind of how you even wound up at Pembroke from Pennsylvania back when Pembroke was an NAIA as Pembroke State and Pembroke State College at that point, I guess, right? So take me through that of how you even found Pembroke and what brought you down here and what's caused you to stay down here.
Well, it's an interesting story, Jack, in that I'm from inner city Philadelphia. I have 7 brothers and sisters, and my mom and dad and my family never owned an automobile their whole life. My parents died never having owned an automobile. I graduated from high school in Philadelphia, and I was still just 17 years of age. And I went to Temple University to play basketball, dropped out after the first semester, worked on the Reading Railroad, was in the Marine Corps. And when I got out 3 years later, I was not allowed to go back to an NCAA school. And so Joe Gallagher is from Philadelphia and is probably one of the greatest players of all time at Pembroke. I met him in Philadelphia, and he asked me if I would have any interest in going back to college. And so Joe and I made a trip down here, and I worked out for Coach Lacey Gain at the time, and went back to Philadelphia and played semi-pro football. And when August came around, I had to decide whether to come to Pembroke or not. My whole 5 years at Pembroke, I hitchhiked back and forth from Philadelphia. Occasionally, I would get a ride, but when I arrived at Pembroke for August, for classes to begin, there used to be a train station in downtown Pembroke. And I'll never forget, I got on the train in Philadelphia about 10 o'clock at night, played poker most of the night in the club car. The train pulled in at sunrise, dropped me off in downtown Pembroke. The train pulled out, and there wasn't a soul around. I didn't know where campus was or anything else, and that's how I arrived at Pembroke. And I'll never forget, for 4.5 years when I was at Pembroke, I never owned a car. I lived in Jacob's Dorm. But I'll never forget the kindness of the Lumbee Indian community towards me. Every weekend I was invited home to someone's farm or to someone's house for activities. And when I didn't have that to do, I went home with one of the basketball players to Greensboro or Raleigh or somewhere like that. So I just have a great fondness and great memories about Pembroke, mostly about how kindly I was treated by the community in the town especially, but also by the coaches, the faculty, the staff, and my teammates.
And so you wind up being here in the 70s, and thanks to Joe, who really is one of the all-time greats for UNC Pembroke as an athlete in general, but definitely for UNC Pembroke basketball, top 5 on pretty much every leaderboard category, if not the top in a lot of the leaderboard categories for men's basketball. You go on to be a 3-time team captain here and go to the NAIA national tournament in 72 and 73, or the 72-73 season, excuse me. Do you remember that experience? Was the tournament then, even the NAIA tournament, always making the postseason is exciting regardless? Was the hype level around it then the same as it is now, or can you see it correlating to, obviously technology and everything has come a long way? But what was that experience like going to the NAIA tournament then? And do you have any fond memories of that?
I really do. If anything, there might have been more hype. Pembroke had never been to the NAIA national tournament, but that whole year, 72, 73, was just a memorable year. We opened up the Jones Center gym in the fall of 72, so we played in the first game in the Jones Center, and I'll never forget it. We opened up against Appalachian State, and they were coached by Pete Maravich's father. We beat them pretty good, as I recall, but I was never known for my shooting. In fact, Coach would tell you I was a lousy shooter. It was more about defense for me and playmaking. But at the jump ball, the ball was tapped to me. I took one dribble and launched the jump shot from about 35 feet. I wanted to get the first 2 points in the new gym. To this day, they're still arguing over whether it was a shot or a pass, because it didn't draw iron. It didn't even come close to drawing iron. But anyway, as the year went on, what was interesting about our trip to Kansas City, our coach, Lacey Gain, who I loved dearly, was a strict disciplinarian. And he ran about a third of the team off before Christmas. And then we had some injuries. So when we qualified for the district playoff, we were down to 7 players. And so we won the district championship. I don't remember much about the semifinal game, but in the finals, we beat the number 3 team in the country, Norfolk State, who had an All-American center. And so it was a big upset. It was very thrilling. I can remember cutting down the nets. And then the tournament, the NAI National Tournament, Jack, was interesting in that it was in Kansas City every year. And you flew out there, and some company adopted you when you arrived. They took you out for a big Kansas City steak. But the tournament was played on 6 consecutive days. It's one and done, and you're out. And on the second day of the tournament, we had the last game of the day, I believe, in the Kemper Arena. And the game didn't start till 9:30 at night. And we ended up losing to a team from Michigan named, I think they're from Michigan, Ferris State. But it was an absolutely memorable experience. The team, one of the things I'll never forget, Jack, is we won District 29, and the other district in our region was District 26. And that year, Guilford won District 26, and they went on to win the national championship. And they had 3 NBA players on that team, World B. Free, M.L. Carr, and Greg Jackson. And we went up to Guilford 2 weeks before the national tournament, and we had them down 13 points with 5.5 minutes to go at their place and ended up losing by a couple of points. One of the most disappointing losses of my life. And, but it would have been nice to have said. And at that time, Pembroke had never beaten Guilford. They were just a powerhouse. And that would have been a nice one to get, but we didn't get it.
But definitely showed that you guys belonged and helped put Pembroke on the map. And, as that tradition, although it had a slump in the early 2000s, has definitely continued now with Pembroke basketball really being a perennial contender in our region, at least, and hopefully further than that as well. And so, your younger brother, really you guys became a basketball family. You talked before we got on about Jim and how you just talked to him and how he's still coaching and helping out with the 76ers now as they're dealing with the bubble down in Orlando. But that NBA connection just kind of grew with that. And I know that being from Philadelphia and him getting to go back to the 76ers, and you mentioned that you've gotten to go a few times as well. What has that experience been like? And your brother coached at Pembroke State for one season, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So what is that connection like for you of not only you getting to play here, but then getting your brother to come coach here, and then watching him go on to now, assistant coach, and at one point he was a head coach in the NBA as well?
It's sort of amazing. In fact, the one year, it was the year after I graduated, that Jimmy was the assistant coach at Pembroke, and the head coach was Joe Gallagher. And so it's kind of funny how it all comes full circle. But, my brother Jimmy's 3 years younger than me, and I was always the proud big brother. And when my brother won the Outstanding Player of the Year in Philadelphia, which is a big city and was noted for its high school basketball. He beat out one of John Wooden's best players, Andre McCarter, for that award. And I can remember being at that luncheon when he was named the outstanding high school player in Philadelphia. And I don't know, it might have been the proudest moment of my life. It meant so much to me to see him get recognized in that way, because he was a hard-nosed little point guard, and he earned everything he got, and I was really proud of that. But, it's very interesting. Jimmy was the head coach, went on to be the head coach of the Boston Celtics, the Philadelphia 76ers, and the Indiana Pacers. And I lived vicariously. Oftentimes I would fly and meet his team on the road, and get to hang out with the players and go to the game. And some very enjoyable and memorable times, Jack.
No doubt. And, you talk about it being one of your proudest moments, and I know just from knowing you and having you come in as the dean here at the School of Business when I was getting my master's, my MBA here at UNC Pembroke, just how much teaching means to you and higher education means to you as well, talking about your continued passion. 40 plus years of experience in higher education, a lot of that time split between UNC Pembroke and Francis Marion, our counterpart, who's in the Peach Belt Conference with us and will be joining the Conference Carolinas with us as well. But take us through, all the changes you've seen from the 70s at Pembroke to now, and now the big project that you're spearheading on top of the continued accreditation of the School of Business is also the $38 million new School of Business right in the center of campus across from our Sammy Cox Field and home of UNCP baseball and the UNCP softball field. Take us through that, as I know teaching has just meant so much to you and your life. And obviously athletics has been a huge part of that, and getting to still be involved with the athletics programs, but getting to be involved in business outside of that, where did the business side come from for you, going from basketball at Temple to dropping out, leaving the first semester and then going into the Marine Corps and then coming to play here? Where does this business degree and business mind that you have come into play with all of this?
Yeah, Jack, it's sort of interesting. In undergraduate school from 70 to 75, one of the things about our basketball team, we were small. I was the point guard, and I was taller than everybody on the team but the center. But we had a smart team. Alfonso McCrae, who was our best player, he's on our board of trustees now at Pembroke. But one of the things I think was interesting is that every year, 4 of our starting 5 players were on the dean's list or the president's list every semester. And, it was interesting. We had long trips. We owned our own bus at the time, Pembroke, and we'd play cards, poker, hearts, and spades on one way on the trip, and on the 4 or 5 hours back from maybe Boone or somewhere like that, we studied. So it was a great group to be around. All the players on my team went on to get the starting 5 to get postgraduate degrees, masters, PhDs. One was a psychiatrist, and so Pembroke gave us all a chance. None of us came from families where a parent had graduated from college. We were all first-generation college kids, and Pembroke made something out of us, and I'll never forget that. But it's interesting, Jack. I came back after I did my graduate work at the University of South Carolina and taught at Clemson as a visiting professor. I came back to Pembroke and was on the faculty from 1979 to 1988. And then, as you mentioned, I went to Francis Marion for 28 years. An interesting story, 4 years ago, when I came back and the Chancellor Cummings had me up for a job interview, it was a busy day, but they didn't give me a campus tour because they said, my God, he went to school here and he taught here for 9 years. There had been so much growth and development on our campus that I couldn't find my way around. And so after I got the job, I came back up here one day by myself and gave myself my own campus tour. And but the school had grown that much since in the 28 years I was gone. I'm so excited about our new School of Business. And as you walk right across the street from where you are, we're having a topping off ceremony this Thursday. But that thing's rising out of the ashes like a phoenix, and it's going to be the state-of-the-art school of business in the state of North Carolina. It's going to have $4 million worth of classroom technology, terrific auditorium, a stock trading room. It's just going to be outstanding. And I'm so thrilled for our students to have the opportunity. When they graduate with an undergraduate business degree or an MBA, they won't walk into any corporate office building in the world that has any better technology than what they're going to be working with in that building. And I also plan during the summers and in May after school gets out, I would love it if every day a bus pulled in with kids from an elementary school or a junior high school, and we can show them what's possible so that they can begin to dream and realize that indeed there is a bright future. And so we're just really excited about it. We've got the fastest growing MBA program in the country. When I got here 4 years ago, we had exactly 100 MBA students. And I was on the phone with our director this morning of the MBA, and we're going to hit 800 here at the beginning of this semester. And so it's with the accreditation, we're one of 850 business schools in the world that have the highest accreditation that a school of business can get. Keep in mind there's 17,000 schools of business. And it's just great to be able to offer a world-class education to students from our eight or nine county service region in the state of North Carolina. And this building's going to allow us to just get even better.
I have no doubt about that, and I'm super jealous of it. I was talking to Dr. Thomas and yourself about how I kind of wish I'd go back to school just so I could experience it. But that's a conversation for another time. As I'm sure that all of our new students are going to have the experience of a lifetime, as many of our students do here at UNC Pembroke. We in athletics always pride ourselves on trying to provide a championship experience, and I think that carries to the rest of the university as well, and we definitely know that it carries to the UNCP School of Business, especially with a former athlete at the helm of the entire school. So, Dr. Berry, I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today on BraveHawk Talk. We always end the interview with one fun and thought-provoking question. I thought this one would be perfect for you because of all of your experiences and proud achievements within your life. So I'm going to go ahead and send it your way. Here is the question. What have you done that you are most proud to have achieved?
I think earning my PhD in economics at the University of South Carolina might have been my proudest moment. I can remember leaving UNC Pembroke, or at the time Pembroke State University, fresh out of undergraduate school and straight into a PhD program at USC. And I was worried that I wouldn't be as good or as prepared as the next guy. The other students, there was 10 in our cohort. The other students were from MIT, Michigan, Harvard, and here I come from Pembroke. And most of them already had master's degrees in economics. And I was a little bit insecure and uncertain of myself. At the end of the first year, I was the only one exempted from taking the qualifying exams. The rest had to take exams to see if they're allowed to continue. And, so I tell our students today, you don't have to be at Vanderbilt or Chapel Hill or Georgia Tech. If you're interested in getting a world-class education, you can get all the education you want at the University of North Carolina at Pembroke. And, it made me feel good that my degree from Pembroke State stacked up against the degrees from some of the more prestigious universities. And I was very proud of persisting in earning my PhD in economics.
I think there's nothing better than, your degree, especially for you, a PhD, and for all of our listeners tuning in to remember that our student athletes are definitely students first and more than just athletes here at UNC Pembroke, and although we're always proud of their accomplishments on the field, we're even more proud of their accomplishments in the classroom, as you are, Dr. O'Brien. And once again, thank you so much for joining us today on BraveHawk Talk, the UNC Pembroke Athletics podcast. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Bull.
Once again, a special thanks to Dr. Barry O'Brien from the School of Business for joining us today, along with Lamin, former UNC football alum, now pursuing a career in NASCAR. If you haven't had the chance to see the new School of Business going up yet, make sure to check it out the next time you're on campus, as it is absolutely beautiful, even though I may be biased as a former business major. But thanks again for everybody joining in today. We appreciate you taking the time to listen in to BraveHawk Talk, the UNC Pembroke Athletics podcast. Don't forget to follow us on social media at UNCP_sports on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok as well. And make sure to subscribe to our YouTube page to catch all the episodes of BraveHawk Talk and all of our featured content coming out of UNC Pembroke Athletics. One final reminder to keep wearing your mask so that we can have game day return. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much again for joining us. I'll see you at game day.